Space Nerds, the February monthly report is out, and it's better than I thought it would be. So much, in fact, that I'm not going to be covering the whole thing. If you want to see the whole summary, check it out on Space Tomato 2. That's where we go into a lot more depth. It's probably already uploaded. But for this, we're going to talk about core gameplay. A lot is changing, big implications. It's looking kind of good. It's not all coming immediately, but it's going to be pretty fun. Let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into core gameplay, we're going to talk about a new mission giver, which is kind of a big deal. This was earlier in the monthly report and something I wanted to point out because mission givers stopped entering the game at 3.5 back when CIG realized that AI wasn't working out. It just, we all know it. It's like a huge favorite for them, you know? So they don't do AI anymore until now. And it has been revealed this week in a video I'll probably cover next week that the mission giver is a Banu, so it's the first alien in the game as well. Now it's a hologram, but this is a lot of narrative implications. They're doing full motion capture, they're doing voice lines, and obviously we're seeing some of the face. So between this and all the other factions going on, they are doubling down hard on giving us more narrative, more people and things to interact with, and this is a good sign. The other thing that's interesting that's not core gameplay is stealth, which is getting changed up on the FPS side. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but you can now sneak around AI, and they're continuing to build in more parameters to allow that to be made more clear to you and give us more situations that we can do it. Now, gameplay. Lots of work on content, bug fixing, and actually features too. We're going to cover them all. First, weapon misfires and overheating. We've seen weapon misfire and overheating shown in Citizen Cons aplenty, and we know that they have it in the game meant to make us go through our weapons, give us more incentive to craft or find new weapons, repair our weapons, and add some character to the weapons that we have. This wear and tear system is on weapons, it's in ships, vehicles, it's going to be in armor, even our bodies to some extent. So this isn't just some small time system. This is all encompassing. I don't know what to do with my freaking hands, man. The new Volt weapons we've been seeing are also going to be entering the game with 4.1.x. These are going to introduce overheating mechanics to weapons, so we haven't had that before, and I think most people know how that works, but it's just different ways to choose different weapons that work in different mysterious ways. It's fun, it's variety. Engineering though, this is it's a heavy hitter. Engineering is something that I think is going to split the community quite a bit early days, but after we start to see the way it works, I don't think it's going to hurt that much. In fact, I think it's going to be pretty nice and help out quite a bit. But what's being talked about with engineering in this monthly report is the balance of coolant and heat. So our ships have coolers, but we haven't really known how coolers were going to work up until now. With the new ship component guide they released this week, we can see that coolant is going to be represented by blocks, kind of like how power is on our power management MFDs. You'll have to use each of these blocks to cancel out a certain amount of heat that each component is making, or else you'll start to accrue damage. This is pretty good because it looks like it's going to be another way for your ship to be limited. It's not just going to be power. It's not just going to be life support. You also have to worry about what heat is being generated by your components, by maybe your mining laser, by your refining equipment, the things you use on your ship. This is just further building out that idea that your ship is a home that you have to customize to play how you want it to. Next, we're on to base building and crafting. In the crafting department, the whole gameplay is actually now playable by the devs. So what we saw in terms of base building maybe at CitizenCon is now, I guess, working in terms of crafting, which they didn't have to show us at that time. What this means is that devs now have access to blueprints, variable material quality, crafting timers, and resource-dependent item stats. So this is a significant step past the crafting we're doing inside of our salvaging ships where we're creating multi-tools and attachments. This is just a fundamental change to how resources work in Star Citizen. Instead of looking for copper and corundum and nickel and gold, you're looking for gold of a certain value to reach a certain level for a certain mission giver that needs a certain type of resource. Or maybe you just want to craft something that's the best quality. If you go back to CitizenCon, you'll actually see it kind of allows the mining that you do in the beginning of the process, and then the refining you do, and then finally the crafting you do, and then even the upgrading after you've used the item to all affect the way the item works. So you're starting all the way back from when you look for that specific mineral quality. And that's what's being worked on here with the crafting update. So this isn't near term by any means, but it's in the design phase and it's now playable by the devs. So they're making progress. Some of the bigger fixes that you guys might be excited to hear about are the transit system stuff. So they were supposed to have a refactor with this that launched with 4.0. It didn't. It's Star Citizen. But they have formed a team to tackle this problem head on. Now that server meshing is functional, the backend is working how it's supposed to, they can start to actually tackle this problem at a fundamental level and get it figured out. Maybe this is part of that transit refactor they're already working on. I don't really know though. But the big change today on the monthly report that I was really excited to see was that your velocity and acceleration are going to be defined by the components in your ship. Man, that's nice to say. Basically, and verbatim, velocity limits per power assignment have been added. What this means is that as you assign power to your components in your power management system on your ship, it will extend the amount of velocity that you can reach, changing your max speed within a window. Now, this is how I read it. I haven't gotten this confirmed. Wait, hold on. Let me check my notifications. No, I have not gotten this confirmed yet, so I don't know if that's actually how it will work, but this sounds a lot to me like engineering. The components you use, the way you balance your power, your coolant, and your wear and tear are all gonna start to define the way your ship actually flies. And this is something that kind of, I think, for a lot of people went out the door in consideration when master modes came around. Not sure how this fits in with the system that they're moving forward with, but we're gonna watch this really closely.
We will watch your career with great interest.
There is additional work also going into the flight model in terms of how your character experiences Gs and some other things going on that are kind of small. It's not worth having a whole section on, so we'll touch back on that when there is, but they're working on the flight model actively. In radar and scanning, for your exploration folks, delta signatures are being worked on, specifically for quantum drive activation. What delta signatures are basically, Captain, they've fired up their weapons, or they're going to make a jump. These are the specific pings that your ship system will give you when somebody is doing something significant in their ship in your vicinity. So you will know if they're about to try and jump away into quantum travel. I think this will be important when it comes to tracking people for bounty hunting, but also for like knowing when you're in danger if somebody's turning their weapons on. On the FPS side of scanning and radar, they are working on a handheld jammer, a radar jammer actually. So when you think about the idea that there is an FPS ping system that lets you see through walls to see other people, they're also giving us armors that give us the ability to avoid that, and now radar jammers that might act as a handheld that you can use to block people from seeing you and your team. So while they might be adding some of these features that feel like they're giving people too much power, they are also adding deterrents and ways to avoid these features that you can use to counteract them. Just gotta balance it. It's a little balance, you know? Boop, 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 boop. Stop it. Please don't put that in there. The inventory is also seeing ongoing work. We all saw how it was released with the freight elevators. I do think that that freight elevator UI was just kind of used in place for the inventory as well. I don't think that's what they wanted to do long term, but I'm glad they removed it, because if they did, nobody would ever want to do physical inventories again. Whatever they're working on now, they're working on concept art to show us a better representation of it. Hopefully we see that soon. That might just be art for the devs that make the UI. Either way, they are working on an actual inventory system so that you guys get a better experience. I know, you might not have high hopes, but let's see how it goes. Finally, to wrap things up, there was just a pretty solid amount of bug fixing, mostly on freight elevators, hangars, trains, missions, mission markers, you know, the stuff that's really annoying us. It's not all just disappearing, but clearly they're working on getting those bugs fixed pretty quickly. While the rest of the monthly report was focused on content and fixes, core gameplay really took off this month. And I think those segments did a good job of showing that feature development is still going on. They're not just stopping features, they might slow down, but it's very much joined by content and bug fixes unlike it was before, and obviously a little bit overshadowed by it. I'm not quite gonna blow the hype horns just yet, but I think I'm also feeling a little bit better. But I'm also feeling pretty good about the year ahead in terms of at least the content we're getting. But we'll talk more about this in the video for 4.1 coming out next week, but also on the podcast episode coming out on Space Tomato 2 and live streams on this channel. We're talking in depth about this, but I think that the content and the way that they're releasing it could look really good. They just need to fix the narrative parts of it a little bit and trickle in some of these features into the EPTU soon so that we can start to see that they are coming along. But this is a solid monthly report, especially the core gameplay section. Again, this is a new format for me. I'm gonna do random stuff on these kinds of videos and just cover things that I'm interested in and I think are looking pretty cool. And this section of the monthly report was looking pretty cool. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.